Pennywise is one of the most iconic horror villains ever created, but what most people don't realize is that Pennywise isn't just a clown. He isn't even a physical being. He's something far, far worse. Today, we're breaking down Pennywise across two versions, the live-action adaptation and the original novel. Each version escalates his power dramatically, and by the end, you'll understand what Pennywise really is and where his power actually ends. But before that, if you have any video suggestions, drop them in the Discord. That's where I'll be collecting all ideas. And if you enjoy this type of content, the goal is 20k, so if you enjoy, sub up. The films It and It Chapter 2 depict Pennywise as an ancient, shape-shifting entity that crash-landed on Earth and awakens every 27 years to feed. The film as Pennywise is of course terrifying on screen, but compared to the novels, the movie version operates on a much smaller scale. However, let's still see how high he scales, starting from his attack potency. In the films, Pennywise's physical strength is technically superhuman, but grounded in horror movie feats. He regularly mutilates humans with ease. For example, he rips George's arm clean off in one tug, demonstrating at least war-level strength. Pennywise has also casually decapitated victims. His lair is littered with severed heads, indicating he can tear human head from its victims with ease. In Chapter 2, he manifests as a giant Paul Banham statue and smashes concrete wall and a town gazebo in one swing, demonstrating small building level destructive capacity. His final monstrous form, the giant clown spider, impaled Eddie through the chest effortlessly and could shatter rocks with its blows. Although Pennywise can also affect the environment on a decent scale. Upon his defeat in It Chapter 2, Pennywise's death throes caused the entire Nailbolt house to collapse and the carnivorous sewer layer to cave in, a feat calculated as small building level destruction. Notably though, many of Pennywise's attacks bypass conventional durability, meaning normal physical toughness can't always defend against his methods. For instance, he can attack through hallucinations or directly affect the mind. Crucially, movie Pennywise's strength is amplified by fear. Pennywise explicitly feeds on fear, and the very act of scaring his victims makes him more powerful. Conversely, lack of fear weakens him. This is why he terrorizes victims before killing them. Fear salts the meat, as the novel says. In the film, we see that when the losers are unafraid and stand together, they can physically overpower Pennywise. In short, the more frightened you are, the stronger Pennywise becomes, a form of fear empowerment that boosts his attack potency when prey are terrified. With that now covered, let's move on to his speed. Pennywise is depicted more of a stalker who toys with his victims, but he has a few notable speed feats and movement abilities. Physically, he can move at least at peak human speeds. For example, he blitzes a young victim in the sewers before the boy can react, and he lunges out of nowhere to snatch George's with blinding quickness. He also surprises adult characters like Victoria at a baseball game in Chapter 2 with a sudden pounce before she can scream. However, Pennywise's mobility really comes from teleportation and trickery rather than raw running speed. He is frequently seen appearing and vanishing instantaneously. The creature can pop up at any location in Derry, seemingly without traveling the space in between. In the film, he's in a slide projector one moment and then literally comes out of the screen, or he appears across a room after a flicker of light. This indicates Pennywise has been shown using teleportation within a moment's notice to appear or disappear at will. He can even teleport others. For instance, he teleports Stan Uris during the lair confrontation, relocating him away from his friends. In combat, Pennywise also employs perception manipulation to enhance his effective speed. He can make himself invisible or unnoticed to some people while manifesting to others. In the first movie, grown-ups never seem to catch Pennywise in the act. Beverly's bathroom is drenched in blood that only the kids can see, and Beverly's father literally didn't even notice it. This selective invisibility means Pennywise can attack one person while bystanders remain oblivious, effectively acting with impunity and preventing any reaction from those who can't see the threat. In terms of raw reflexes though, one of Pennywise's most fearsome attacks is revealing his Deadlights, the hypnotic lights in his throat. In Chapter 2, he blasts Richie with the Deadlights before Richie can even blink, despite Richie staring directly at him. The Deadlights manifest as an instantaneous beam of energy, essentially moving at light speed, as they are literally described as actual lights in the story. So while Pennywise's raw speed is nothing crazy, capping at peak human, his supernatural attacks, or in this case, the actual Deadlights, are extremely fast. Some also say it is faster than light, but with speed covered, let's briefly take a look at his other hacks. His signature ability is shapeshifting and illusion. He transforms into his victims' worst fears, and these illusions are tangible, physical, and deadly. Just as I mentioned, where Beverly's bathroom erupting in a tidal wave of blood, yet her father does not realize. This is powered by strong mind manipulation. Pennywise is a telepath who knows his victims' innermost secrets and fears. He uses this to psychologically torture them, even driving Stanley to self-delete. He can also exert mass influence, inducing town-wide apathy, inflicting amnesia on those who leave Derry, and directly controlling weak-minded individuals like Henry. He also has a weak form of reality warping. He can create matter from nothing, like balloons and blood, use powerful telekinesis, and manipulate space itself, creating impossible non-Euclidean geometry like the warp rooms in a neighborhood house. This also includes gravity manipulation, making his victims float, and necromancy, reanimating corpses like Beck and Patrick to serve him. Finally, his ultimate weapon is, as I mentioned before, the Deadlights. Seen in the movies as 3 searing orbs in his throat, this is a direct, higher dimensional attack on the consciousness. Looking at them bypasses all physical durability and induces a catatonic floating state of living death, as seen with Beverly. However, despite his supernatural powers, the live-action Pennywise is not invincible. His defeat stems from several explicit weaknesses. Pennywise's power is directly tied to his victims' terror. He needs them to be afraid, as seen in the films. Courage is a direct counter. When the losers show no fear, Pennywise is stunned, repelled, and loses his hold over them. Then, there is a vulnerability to belief. This is the inverse of his fear-eating. Pennywise is vulnerable to his victims' collective will. When the losers unite to assert their belief that he is weak, shouting, "You're just a clown," their unified will overrides his power, causing him to literally shrink and decay. To add on to this, when he takes a physical form, the form can be physically harmed, and it inherits that form's weaknesses. More importantly, his body is susceptible to belief-powered attacks. Eddie's fence post stab works because he believes it will. Also, there is his psychological and narrative flaws. Pennywise is arrogant, toying with the losers instead of killing them outright. He's also bound by his 27-year hibernation cycle. And finally, his magic can be countered by opposing forces. Ben's kiss of love was able to break Beverly out of the Deadlight trance. So to sum all this up, live-action Pennywise is not strong as it seems. He is a wall to building level entity with a plethora of supernatural abilities. Yet, he's ultimately bound by the rules of fear and belief. A group of brave, determined kids was enough to defeat him because of these exploitable weaknesses. By typical power metrics, movie Pennywise might rank somewhere around a 9A, with an arsenal of hacks that make him a nightmare for any normal human. However, now it's time to step into the novel and macroverse of the It series to see what Pennywise truly is when he's unleashed. Stephen King's universe has a multi-layered cosmology that goes far beyond the town of Derry. To understand Pennywise's full power, we need to grasp where it comes from, an extra-dimensional void known as a macroverse, also called the Toll-Darkness in King's Dark Tower mythos. The macroverse transcends our normal reality of time and space. It is essentially a primordial void outside the universe. In King's lore, before creation as we know it, there was the macroverse, an infinite dark expanse. Within this void, 2 primal beings came into existence, Maturin and It. Maturin is the colossal cosmic turtle. King describes that Maturin the turtle vomited out the universe we inhabit. After creating our universe, Maturin retreated into his shell, presumably to watch and sleep. The other entity was It, often referred to it in its true form as the Deadlights. Unlike the turtle, It was a malevolent force of destruction, a shapeless, endless consumption of orange light that just wanted to feed. In that timeless macroverse, these 2 beings were like opposites. One was a creative force and the other was destructive hunger. They're even described as brother and counterpart, Maturin being a guardian figure and It, the Deadlights, an embodiment of evil and brutality. This is where Pennywise truly comes from. It, the Deadlights sensed the newly vomited universe full of life and fear and decided to enter our cosmos to feed. It crashed the Earth in a cataclysmic event millions of years ago in a meteor impact that created a massive crater in what would become Derry. From then on, it would slumber and awaken in cycles to prey on humanity, especially children whose fears are exotic and delicious. Now, what exactly are the Deadlights? The Deadlights are described as withering, radiant orange lights, an eldritch form of lethal energy from the macroverse. This is its true essence. Anyone who gazes directly into the Deadlights either dies instantly or goes irreparably insane. They are literally beyond human comprehension. High dimensional power given visual form as blinding lights. In It, the novel, Bill gets a brief glimpse during the ritual of Chod and describes the Deadlights as the endless final horror that underpins Pennywise, describing it as the Deadlights constitute the life essence and true form of the villain, It. In other words, Pennywise is the Deadlight and the clown is just a mask. This will be described as avatar creation. The Pennywise we all know is a mere avatar created and controlled by the Deadlights. Think of Pennywise's clown form as akin to a puppet or an appendage being controlled remotely by the true It, which still resides in the macroverse. This is why in the novels, the spider-like physical form is described as the closest the human mind can come to perceiving its actual shape. But even that is an imperfect approximation and the real mind of it lurking in the void outside. Due to this, in Stephen King's novel, Pennywise's ability and scale are far more extensive than in the films. The Losers Club are up against an ancient eldritch entity with influence on a conceptual and cosmic level. Using feats and lore like cosmology we just covered from the novel, let's break down true Pennywise in the same categories. First, let's start from his attack potency. Now, there are some feats from his physical manifestation, but those aren't so impressive compared to true It existing in the macroverse. The novel implies that it could threaten the fabric of reality if not stopped. How do we gauge this though? One clue is that its true form is stated to exist beyond the entire short time, long time, and all time cosmological hierarchy. In King's multiverse, all time and the Dark Tower represents all levels of reality and story. It transcends even those narrative layers, residing in the emptiness outside creation. This suggests an attack potency on a conceptual level. It can attack the very ideas and metaphysical underpinnings of the universe. For instance, during the ritual of Chud, it attempts to mind wipe Bill's soul on an otherworldly plane, an attack beyond physical harm. It's trying to unmake his spirit in the macroverse. This all comes under high outerversal level. 1A or outerversal means beyond all dimensional space-time, and high 1A or high outerversal is just shy of the absolute god tier, which is boundless. In the story, this is evidenced by statements that its spider form, closest to its real form, exists beyond space and time, transcending the limits of 3D reality. Even more telling is this spider avatar was powerful enough to reach into the macroverse itself. That implies Pennywise's manifestation had a foot in both our world and the higher reality, drawing power from the macroverse. When fully in its element, its destructive potential devours worlds, universes, perhaps even concepts. Pennywise boasts of being the eater of worlds, and in the novel, that is not hyperbole. To add on to this, it's worth noting some abstract feats. Its influence is so grand that it corrupts the narrative of Derry's history. Essentially, every bad thing that ever happened in Derry was either caused by it or amplified by it. This long-term subtle influence is a sort of causality manipulation. It has been in the invisible hand behind centuries of bloodshed. Another feat to mention is its true form is stated to be beyond the archetypal structure of stories, even those written by authors like Stephen King. This is a metatextual way of saying it is beyond fiction itself, a being that can pack out of the pages, so to speak. For power scaling though, that is a fancy way to claim it can affect concepts and narratives, the idea of fear, the concept of a story, etc. In concrete terms, novel Pennywise could destroy or consume entire universes if unleashed. It's hinted that if the losers failed, it might eventually expand beyond Derry, perhaps even beyond Earth. And notably, even after its defeat, the Deadlights, its essence, persists outside the physical world. So one could argue it wasn't completely annihilated. Its true form cannot be destroyed by mere physical means. This means Pennywise's death was likely just the destruction of its link to our world, not the death of the cosmic entity. That's a Lovecraftian trope. You can kill the shadow on the wall, but the monster casting it still lives in the darkness behind. With that covered, now let's move on to his speed. On the macroverse scale, Pennywise's speed defies comprehension. Within our universe, when partially manifested, it can move similarly to the movie feats, around peak human to subsonic here. But when Bill and Richie enter the macroverse via the ritual of Chud, King describes a far more impressive feat. They are hurled through the darkness outside the universe, moving so fast that the entire cosmology blurs. They glimpse Merchant, and then Merchant is left behind within a blink of an eye. Calculations put Pennywise's travel speed here at massively faster than light plus, just the traverse from Earth to beyond the universe almost instantaneously. Remember, it came from outside the universe to Earth, so it crossed dimensional space in no time. But more impressively, time and distance have no meaning to its true form. In the macroverse, it exists in a void beyond time, so its speed is classified as immeasurable. It's not moving through space-time, but it's outside those constructs. Pennywise can be essentially omnipresent in its own realm. Since the Deadlights are its realm, it is everywhere within the void at once. During the psychic battle, it is only sluggish when dragged partially into the physical plane where time exists. But on its home turf, it could strike at any point in the time simultaneously if it wanted. For instance, some interpretations suggest it could influence events in Derry's past, present, and future all at once, since it sits outside the linear timeline. The novels doesn't explicitly show time travel, but being beyond long time and all time suggests this capability, which basically means its speed is just busted. Next, we can move on to his hacks, but nearly all of the movie's hacks are present in the novel, but they are significantly amplified. Novels, its illusions are powerful enough to alter victims' entire perceived reality. It can make an abandoned apartment appear new, and its illusions are tangible, such as making Beverly drink blood she perceives as tea. It also demonstrates 2D manipulation, able to animate photographs or reach outside a scrapbooks to attack. It is a far stronger telepath, capable of invading dreams and planting thoughts. Crucially, this extends to soul manipulation. The Deadlights do not merely induce catatonia, they are a direct attack that annihilates the victim's soul and consciousness, a fate worse than death. This was due to kill Tom Rogan instantly and leave Audra in a permanent, soulless coma. Its true consciousness exists in a higher dimensional plane called the macroverse, as I'll say again. This allows it to fight on 2 planes at once, engaging the losers physically with its avatar while simultaneously engaging Bill in a psychic battle. This grants it a form of multiversal awareness. It's aware of its cosmic counterparts, the Turtle and Gan. The novels, it has absurd regeneration, surviving the first ritual of Chud and healing massive wounds. Its physical avatar must be completely destroyed to be temporarily defeated. However, it possesses a form of Type 8 immortality. Its true essence is in the Deadlights in the macroverse, which are eternal. Destroying the physical spider does not kill it, only forces it to rehibernation. Finally, there is the ritual of Chud. This is a less of a weakness and more of a specific building form of combat. In the novel, it is a psychic battle of wills where it can be forced to engage. This is the only known method to truly wound its spiritual essence, as its mind is vulnerable to the cosmic force of the white good in a way its physical body is not. Although, in addition to the core weaknesses seen in the films, such as its arrogance, hibernation cycle, and fundamental reliance on fear, the novel expands on these limitations. First, there is the belief and imagination, or the rules. This is far more explicit in the novel. It is magically bound to obey the rules of its form it takes. Because the kids believe silver kills a werewolf, their silver earring severely wounds its werewolf form. Their belief imposes vulnerability onto it, turning their imagination into a tangible weapon. Second, the novel emphasizes that unified courage and love are a direct anathema to it. These positive emotions act like a poison, weakening their influence and allowing the losers to fight back on a spiritual level. Finally, there is the cosmic hierarchy. This is a key novel-only weakness. It is not the top of the food chain. It is equaled by its cosmic brother, the turtle, and both are creations of a higher being, Gan/the other. These entities are more powerful than it, meaning it is not omnipotent and exists within a cosmic order that cannot be defined. So, overall, novel Pennywise, or its true form, is a cosmic horror. Its manifestation can warp reality, and its true essence exists outside the universe, able to slaughter on a higher universal scale. Yet a group of children, and later their adult selves, manage to defeat it through the power of belief, courage, and a bit of luck/fate. It's a testament to King's theme that innocence and heart can overcome even the greatest evil. But from a power scaling perspective, live-action Pennywise versus novel Pennywise is extremely unfair. The novel's true form operates on a level incomprehensibly above the movies. To make that clear, live-action is wall/small building level, while the novel Pennywise's true form is high universal, effectively beyond multiverse level. But if you made it this far, thank you for watching.